My dad once told me, "The greatest regret in my life is coming to the US." He spoke while tossing frozen chunks of fruit and tapping his secret ingredient, a dollop of avocado, into a blender. When he handed me a chilled cup of the creamy smoothie, I savored my first mouthful and thought back to our trip to Taiwan a few years ago, when the two of us visited a building that housed a family I'd only ever heard stories of. It was my dad's childhood home, an unremarkable hole in the wall tucked between apartments that groaned with age. Raindrops splattered onto the hot asphalt where we stood, its vapor acidifying Taipei smog and burning my nose. My dad held his phone up and nudged me to stand under the tropical canopy that blanketed the house where it was dry. My 17-year-old self just rolled my eyes and walked over, forcing a smile for his photo, when I suddenly heard a voice. "你们是谁? Who are you two?" I turned, and standing at the doorway was the house's current inhabitant with a raised eyebrow. My dad replied, "I'm visiting my childhood home for the first time since leaving for America." Before we knew it, we were whisked inside, and the other occupants of the house had invited us onto comfy seats and offered us hot water. As the Taiwanese hosts surrounded us with smiles and crinkled eyes, I struggled to comprehend the Taipei dialect that soon infused the air around me. And through the chatter, my dad exchanged stories of childhood street vendors who sold icy drinks on the sweltering summers, and the pavement outside his school that he rubbed his palms on until they calloused to numb them from the sting of his teacher's ruler. After 30 years of cultural and language barriers starving him of ever feeling like he belonged, I finally saw my dad's frown lines soften. Encased in the comforting memories of his past, it seemed like my dad had come home. The next day, with the nostalgic warmth of his childhood home still fresh, I followed my dad as he made a beeline for Taiwan's Army Academy. I wiped the beads of sweat off my forehead and squinted my eyes, trying to decipher the proud golden Chinese characters, 绿军学校, that hung over the gate and concrete wall that separated the city from the military base. My dad took a photo and said, "This place looks just how I remember." I realized that we were actually standing in the backdrop of a framed photo that stood by my dad's home computer, a photo of his 20-year-old self, standing proudly in his lieutenant's uniform. Hearing our noise, 2 guards appeared and probed us. My dad boasted, "Hey, I served as an officer here, and I used to command soldiers like you." He took a proud step forward and asked, "Can I come inside?" The guards just stood motionless and silent, glancing sideways at each other. Hearing no response, my dad repeated his request and added, "You know you used to salute me, right?" The guards just shook their head and marched off. My dad, not thinking much of it, just shrugged and asked me to take the photo of him outside the gate. I held my phone up, and through the screen, the guards' backs shrunk to dots, and the gray walls towered over my dad's helpless figure, an agonizing separation between him and the proudest fragment of his past. Upon hearing the slurp of my dad finishing his smoothie, I transported myself back to the kitchen table. He licked his straw and smiled, saying, "This is why I want to go back to Taiwan. I just want to spend the rest of my life making my homemade smoothies as a street vendor." I didn't respond. Stabbing my straw through a lone piece of mango at the bottom of my cup, the image of the apathetic guards brushing my dad aside seared into my mind like a hot iron. I started to wonder if he's only chasing an illusion, the illusion of a life lived by a man who never really existed, a fragile life, one planted by the past, nourished by nostalgia, with which its innocent existence is threatened by reality's trampling. Thank you.